Good morning and welcome everyone back to our Tanya class on Sunday morning. Last week we weren't together here because of Shavuos. It's nice to be back. The last time we were here and we gave this class, we started chapter 36. And we went into, we got to the middle of the chapter, but because we took this break and there's some new students here today, we'll start from the beginning of 36. All right? Mm-hmm. It's on page 163. And the Alter Rebbe in chapter 35, which began a new topic, he explained that he emphasized the importance of the mitzvahs that involve action. That there are different kinds of mitzvahs. There's mitzvahs you do with your mind, studying Torah, contemplating, thinking, meditating, and davening, and so on. There are mitzvahs you do with your mouth. And then there are mitzvahs you do with your hands and feet. The action mitzvahs. You shake a lulav, you put on tefillin, you give charity, all those mitzvahs that involve the action. And the Alter Rebbe explained that based on a verse in Torah, that the idea of the action mitzvahs is really the key. That's the most important thing that Hashem wants. Not that he doesn't want the other mitzvahs. Of course he wants all the mitzvahs. But there's something unique about the mitzvahs we do with our power of action. And that is that with the power of action we also engage our bodies, our physical bodies, and the animating soul that gives life to the physical body, which is what? Our human soul. So when you do a mitzvah with your hands, with your feet, you're doing with your action, you're engaging not only your deeper levels of your consciousness, of your existence, your thoughts, your emotions, but you're also engaging the very physical part of your existence, which is your body and the soul that animates it. And that too is engaged in Hashem's work, and it becomes elevated, becomes one with Hashem. That's what he explained in chapter 35. Here he's going to explain that indeed is the whole purpose of the whole creation. Okay, let's start chapter 36. We already started it last week. In other words, the question he's going to address over here is, okay, so you're saying that engages your physical part of your life. So why is that so significant? Why is that so key and so important? So Alter Rebbe over here is going to say that indeed is the whole purpose for creation, to elevate and to engage the lowest of all realms, the lowest of everything, which is the physical. And that's why the mitzvahs that engage and involve the physical is the ultimate purpose. Any questions? Huh? Okay, let's start. Chapter 36. It is a well-known rabbinic statement. Let me put this. It is a well-known rabbinic statement that the purpose of the creation of this world is that the Holy One, blessed be He, desired to have an abode in the lower worlds. The statement is very famous, that the whole reason why God created the world was for the purpose of God wanted to have a dwelling place, so to say, a place where he can be at home. Where did he want that home for himself? An abode in this lowest realm. What's the lowest realm? So he explains over here. But surely with him, meaning with God, the distinction of upper and lower has no validity. What does it mean, upper and lower, regarding Hashem? What is considered upper and what is considered lower? He's also what is up and down. He's beyond time, space. He's beyond all of upper and lower. So what is the meaning that he wanted a dwelling in the lowest of all realms? For he pervades all worlds equally. He's everywhere equally. There's nothing higher for him than lower and lower. Right? So the explanation of the matter, however, is as follows. Before the world was created, he was one alone. One and unique, filling all space in which he created the universe. There was only him. It is still the same now insofar as he is concerned. Nothing changed as far as Hashem is concerned. He is everywhere. He fills every aspect of reality equally. For the change relates only to those who receive his blessed life force and light. Those that receive the light from Hashem, his energy, to them there's a difference, which they receive through many garments. There are different levels of creations that receive God's light through there are different levels, meaning there are higher levels received Hashem's energy and life force without so many concealments. And then there are levels that receive Hashem's light and life force and energy through many concealments. Let me explain. When God created the world, what did he want? What did God want when he created the world? He wanted to create this world as we know it, right? That was his desire. How do you create a physical world? How does an infinite God create a finite, limited world? And corporeal and physical and mundane. How does that happen? How do you go from the infinite God, which is totally beyond, to a physical reality? So the Kabbalah, all the great Kabbalists discuss this at length, and they describe the creation as a process that began with the Eir Ein Sof, with the infinite light of Hashem, that had to be contracted. As in the words of the Kabbalah, he had to have a tzimtzum, meaning he had to contract and withhold that infinite light. How that works we won't get into now. It's a very detailed process, but very basic. He had to contract the infinite light and withhold that. And a more finite, within Hashem, he has every aspect. He has finite within him. He has infinite. He has all abilities and all aspects. So he had to withhold the infinite light. I'm giving to you very basic, and allow for a more finite light, his finite ability to emerge and become distinct. And what happened was, he began a series of descents. The highest level is on a much higher level of godly energy, and that leads to a lower level to lower, and he kept contracting more and more and more until it became lower levels, lower realities, until finally our reality. Correct? Mm-hmm. So in this process, from the beginning of the process, which is the Eir Ein Sof, the infinite light of Hashem, till the physical reality, there are many, many myriads of levels in between. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, those levels in between, let's break it down to 4 worlds. Okay? Because in Kabbalah it talks about basic 4 worlds. Atzilus, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya. So is that in the highest world, yeah, that was brought into existence in this process of creation. Over there's obviously a greater amount of godly light than in the lower world. That's what makes it higher, and that's what makes this lower. Higher and lower is not in relation to Hashem. It's in relation to the receiving end, which is the worlds, these different levels within in the evolution of this creative process. So a higher level would be the first level would be a higher world. The second level would be a lower world. What makes it higher and lower? Higher and lower in relation to how much godliness is revealed in that world. Because you remember that Hashem had to conceal himself to conceal his infinite light in order for lower realities to come into existence. So the more you conceal, the more that creation of that level is getting less revealed godliness, right? That's what makes it lower. Higher and lower is in relation to how much godly revelation there is. Just to cite an example of what I'm talking about. If a great scholar, a tremendous, brilliant mind, let's say Moshe Rabbeinu himself, the Baal Shem Tov came into this room and started teaching Torah to you, to us, or to 10-year-old kids, or to 20-year-old kids, or anyone, would you be able to understand and grasp the profundity of Moshe Rabbeinu's wisdom if he just spoke it the way he understands it? He's at myriads of levels beyond us. He's infinitely beyond us. He really is. In a different realm. So how does a teacher like that give the topic to me and you, simple people, on a much, much lower, infinitely lower level than him? How does he give over? I mean, if he would give it to you the way he understands it, just filter to come right out of his mind, it would be way over our heads. We wouldn't get anything. We wouldn't grasp any of it. Or imagine if Professor Einstein walked into a classroom of 15-year-olds and he's trying to tell them how his new invention of the day. He would never understand it. So what does he have to do in order for a 20-year-old, 15-year-old to understand it? What do you have to do? What do you think?
Come down to the level.
How do you come down to that level? What does he have to do to come down to that level? He has to simplify it. How do you simplify the profoundness of it? You dress it up in parables. You start using parables. Why parables? Because parables, you're using matters, topics that are closer to the student, that he or she can grasp. And through the parable, what's a parable? A parable is addressing. It's a concealment. You're concealing that idea that's very, very profound in something that's less profound, in something that's more closer to your world. It's now sometimes it says about Shlomo HaMelech that one piece of wisdom of his, he had to dress up in 3,000 parables. He had to give a parable for the parable. You understand? So you should understand this first parable, you have to give another parable. And in order to understand that parable, you have to give a third until 3,000 levels. And then the average person can understand it. You understand what we're talking about here? That's a human being. After all, Shlomo HaMelech is still a human. And he was so far beyond the regular person in his wisdom. That's how you create, that's how you bring the infinite level, that higher level of reality, to a lower level. You have to conceal it in lower realities. You have to bring down that energy, that creative energy, that Hashem, going back to Hashem, you have to take that creative energy that's totally, completely infinite, contract it a little, conceal it, till it becomes on a lower level. That alone has to be then contracted and concealed into a third lower level, and 4 and 5, myriads of levels, infinite levels perhaps, until that can now come down to our level. But all this chain that came down from one level to the next, there's higher and there's lower, like the 3,000 parables. The higher parable is lower. There's much. The first parable is way higher than the 20th parable. So the same thing, the world that Hashem created in between, till to get to this physical world, so that he can get what he wants out of this physical world, to be a physical, materialistic world, he has to go through all this process. One concealment after the next, after the next, after the next, till it becomes corporeal, literally physical. But in between, you have so many levels. And those levels are higher and lower. What makes it higher and lower? In the higher one, the concealment is not that much. And therefore, God is more revealed there. In the lower world, it's more concealed, and therefore God's a little less, the revelation of Hashem. God is everywhere equally, but the revealed state of Hashem. Understand? How much of godliness is revealed in this physical world? Zero. We don't see him at all in this world. In this world, you can look at the world for 120 years, you can live here and not be aware that there's a God at all. He's so concealed that it comes to the point that people can even deny his existence. They say he doesn't even exist. And it's only through your mind and logic that forces you to tell you, yes, he must exist. This couldn't have come just out of nowhere. So your mind, your intellectual, your intellect brings you to understand that God exists. By Yid, his neshama brings him to understand it. But either way, it's but it's not open, revealed godliness. So there's total concealment. That's what makes this world the lowest. And where did Hashem want to have his dwelling place? Where did he want to have his most closest, his intimate, where did he want to be most intimate? In this physical world, not in the higher worlds. That's not what he wanted. He wasn't interested that much in that. That was just a means to an end, to get to this world. It is in this world that he wants to have his home. How do you create a home for Hashem? You do mitzvahs. You serve him. You bring Hashem into this world through sanctifying this table, this cookie, this book, this paper, this physical world. You start elevating it, and you start revealing. Wait a minute, there is a godliness in this paper. How do you know there's how do you reveal the godliness in this paper? You print Torah on it. How do you reveal the godliness in this table? You learn Torah on it. And it becomes clear that God exists in this table, and so on and so forth with everything. Now we understand why he wanted them action mitzvahs most. Because it is in the action mitzvahs where this idea becomes most prevalent. Because the action mitzvahs encompass the physical aspect of our existence and of the world. So imagine a person is meditating and davening, yeah? He's doing a mitzvah without a doubt. He's davening, he's doing a mitzvah. But that mitzvah engages what part of the human being? No, I'm saying what part of the human being? Your hands? No, your brain. Your brain, which is already your thought process, which are already more elevated or refined aspects of the human experience. What part of the world does it engage? No part of the world almost, except your own brain and your power of thought. It doesn't engage anything else. What about when you shake a lulav on Sukkot? What part of your existence, of your personal existence, has been involved in that mitzvah? Your hands, your mouth, a bit, your physical body is now engaged in the mitzvah. In shaking that lulav, you can't shake it by thinking about it. You have to actually take your hands and shake it back and forth. You have to engage your physical reality, and that physical reality is not just your hands and feet and your physical body, but the physical body is alive through a human soul, which is engaged in moving the hands and creating all of that ability to shake the lulav and the esrog, right? So you're engaging now a much lower part of yourself, which is your very physical, corporeal self. In addition to that, it engages also a certain aspect of the physical world, the esrog, the lulav, the willows, the myrtles. You're involved in a lot of stuff. You spent money to buy that esrog and lulav, so now your money was involved in that, and your feet had to go to the store and buy that lulav and esrog. So much got involved. So where's God's ultimate purpose being fulfilled? In davening or in shaking a lulav? In a sense, in shaking a lulav, more of his ultimate purpose is being fulfilled. Why? Because what was his ultimate purpose? To engage the lowest. He shall have an intimate space in the lowest of realms. The lowest realm is not my brain or my power of thought. The lowest realm is the physical world, which is my hands, that fruit, that tree, my money that bought it, and the car that took me to go buy it, all those physical things, you know what's involved in that? Now you can argue that the car brought you to shul. That's true too, and your feet brought you to shul. So you're right, davening also engages a certain aspect of it. But in davening, all that is only to prepare you for the mitzvah. The mitzvah itself engages only your mind and your thought. Whereas in the esrog, the mitzvah itself is engaging your hands, the fruit, that so much more. So that's why God wanted the actual mitzvah, the mitzvahs involving action. Comprende?
Comprende.
Let's see it in the Alter Rebbe's words. It's on page 163 on the left column. We'll start from the beginning again, chapter 36. It is a well-known rabbinic statement that the purpose of the creation of this world is that the Holy One, blessed be He, desired to have an abode in the lower worlds. Okay? What is an abode? He wanted to have a place where he's home. He feels at home. He wanted to have his house. What's house? By the way, let me explain this too. When you say an abode means a home. There's a very big difference. The very big difference between a person, the way he is in his house, or the way he expresses himself in public outside of his house. For example, when you go to your workplace, if you're a doctor, you have a certain attire for a doctor. If you go to a lawyer, you have a lawyer's attire. You're a teacher, whatever you do. You're a plumber, you're a workman in the construction where you're wearing a hard hat. You're expressing yourself in one certain way. It's not your essence. It's not the very self. Right? What happens when you come back home at the end of the day? You take all that off. You put on your jeans or your shorts. And you sit down. You plop down into your couch. You put one foot on the coffee table, the other foot over the edge of the couch, the other edge of the couch, and you're comfortable. You're watching your favorite TV show, right? Who's there at that moment? You are. What part of you is there? The very essence of yourself. Who lives in your house? The person himself. The essence of the person lives in his house. The doctor in me goes to the office. The lawyer in me goes to court. The construction person in me goes to the construction site. Not my essence. That's the difference between a home and everywhere. When God says, I want a home in this physical world, He means He wants to have a place where His very essence will dwell. So that's what He says of it. But surely, let's read it further. But surely within the distinction of upper and lower has no validity. There's no upper and lower by Hashem. So what are you talking about? He wanted a dwelling place in the lowest of realms. What's lower? There's no lower by Him. For He pervades all worlds equally. Where is He not? The same. He's down here, up there more than down here. Not true. He's not down here more than up there either. He's everywhere equally. So He explains now what does He mean by the upper and lower. The explanation of the matter, however, is as follows. Before the world was created, He was one alone, one and unique, filling all space in which He created the universe. He was it. That was it. There was nothing else. It is still the same now, insofar as He is concerned. For the change relates only to those who receive His blessing, His blessed life force and light, which they receive through many garments, which conceal and obscure His blessed light, as is written, for no man shall see me and live. You can't observe the highest level of Hashem. You wouldn't be able to handle it. And as our rabbis of blessed memory have explained it, that even angels are called chayot, the highest levels cannot see Him. So, in order for any kind of relationship between God and His creations, He had to conceal Himself. This is the concept of ishtalshalut, downward gradation, the chain order, right, of the worlds, and their descent, degree by degree, through a multitude of garments which screen the light of and life that emanate from Him. As we explained this all just a few minutes ago. Until there was created this material and gross world, the lowest in degree. Now you can explain now why this is the lowest. Right? Why is this the lowest? He explains the lowest in degree, than which there is none lower. In the aspect, in what sense is it the lowest? In the aspect of concealment of His blessed light. A world of this world is a world of doubled and redoubled darkness. So much so that it is full of klippas, as sitra achra, meaning the unholy, the completely unholy. Klippa means a shell, a total concealment. What is a klippa? A klippa is like a peel. like a banana peel or an egg peel. An eggshell. What is the shell? The shell completely conceals what's behind it. You don't know if it's a rotten apple behind that peel or not. Or if you buy a watermelon, you know what's inside. You don't. Because the peel is completely concealing it. This world is the world of the peel. The world of the concealment. The world of the shell. Where God himself completely concealed himself in this physical world. Which opposed the very God at saying, this physical world is able to say, I am, and there is nothing else besides me. This world presents itself as independent, self-sufficient. When you look at the world around you, you don't see God. You don't see the godly spark and godly life force and creative force that's in this world. You do not see it. In that sense, it's like a peel. Behind it all, there's, of course, a godly force, a godly life energy. But you don't see it when you look at it. It presents itself as if self-sufficient. I am, and there's nothing else, right? The point, as I said before, you have people that say that there's no God altogether. That's how bad the concealment is down here in this physical world. And that's what makes it the lowest. It's the lowest in the sense of godly revelation. There's no question God is down here as much as he is up there. No difference as far as Hashem is concerned. But the difference is only how much of himself has he revealed in this world, as opposed to how much he revealed in the upper world. In the upper world, Hashem is revealed to some degree. And over there too, there's many different levels of that revelation. And the common denominator between all the spiritual worlds is that God is revealed. If you're a creation of the physical world, you have no doubt about God. He's revealed. It's clear to you. This physical world is the one world where God is totally concealed. It's called the world of the peel, the world of the shell, because he's behind the shell. He's there, but he's behind the shell. He concealed himself. And that's what makes this the lowest world. Now, he continues, clearly, what was the purpose of all of this? Why did he do this? As he said, clearly the purpose of the ishtalshalut, of this chain order, of this descent of the worlds and their descent degree by degree, is not for the sake of the higher worlds. It can't be for the sake of the spiritual higher worlds. Why not? Because for them, this is a descent from the light of his blessed countenance. Let me explain. What is he saying over here? What's the common denominator between all the upper worlds? That God has revealed. To some degree. So when you have a world where God is revealed somewhat, not altogether, not the ultimate revelation, but there's some revelation. Could you say that would be the purpose why God went through this whole thing? To have a world where he's a little more, somewhat less revealed, but revealed? Can't be. Because for those worlds, it's a descent. He became less revealed in those worlds. It would be better if he wouldn't create that world where it would be, on the higher world, he's more revealed. So how could you say that where there's more concealment, that's the purpose? So in that whole system of worlds where he's revealed, but not completely, less, but still revealed, that can't be the purpose. Because he was much more revealed before he started this whole process. So why would he have gone through a process where he's less revealed? How could that be the purpose? So you can ask the same question. So then how can you say that this physical world is the purpose of it? It is complete concealment. So this certainly can't be the purpose. He says, no, this is the purpose, this physical world. This is why he went through the whole thing. Why? But the ultimate purpose of creation is this lower world, lowest world. For such was his blessed will. That's what God wanted. That he shall have a satisfaction when the sitra achra, when this peel, when this shell world is subdued and this darkness is turned into light. This is the world of darkness. The higher world it's not dark. The God is revealed, which makes it a lit up world. It can be more light, less light. But darkness is not there. This is where you have darkness, pure darkness. Darkness in the sense where God is completely concealed, where the light is shut down. That's what darkness is. You've turned off the light. This is a world where God turned off his revelation. We turned himself down. He turned off the switch. He's not revealed there at all. It's complete darkness. And what's the purpose? To take this darkness and transform it and turn it around and make it lit. To make light, to bring light into this world. How do you bring light? I just described it to you. You take this table and you learn Torah on it. So you took the darkness of the table, which doesn't represent godliness at all. In fact, when you look at this table as in the furniture store, it doesn't bespeak its godly spark at all. It's a shell, it's a pill, right? It's the shell reality. It says that I am and nothing else. I'm here for my own purpose. I'm self-sufficient. But when you take it and buy it, and you bring it into a synagogue or into your living room, and you have Shabbos dinners on it, and you learn Torah on it in a class, yeah, so now you have uncovered the ultimate purpose of this table, which was to serve Hashem. So you reveal the godly spark that was always in this table, and now it became revealed. That's the greatest satisfaction God gets. When you take a dark reality and you transform it into light. And that can only happen down here, because this is the only dark reality. Let's read it again. Get satisfaction on top of the page. When the Sitra Achra is subdued and the darkness is turned to light, so that the divine light of the blessed Ein Sof, the infinite light of Hashem, shall shine forth in the place of the darkness. And Sitra Achra, which is the unholy, the unlit world, and it should start shining throughout this world, all the more strongly and intensely, with the excellence of light emerging from darkness. Then its effulgence in the higher worlds, where it shines through garments and in concealment of the countenance which screen and conceal the light of the blessed Ein Sof, in order that they should not dissolve out of existence. When Hashem is revealed in this darkness, He shines all of a sudden with a great brightness. Because when you're able to take darkness, when you're able to, out of darkness comes light, yeah? The light is much stronger than if it was never dark to begin with. So in the upper worlds, it was never dark to begin with. It was less light, it was somewhat of a garment. There was garments on those worlds. There's concealment, there's tzimtzum, and so on and so forth, but it's always, God always shined there. There was always an obvious godliness in those worlds. There was revelation. And the reason he has to conceal himself to some degree in those worlds, because if he didn't conceal himself, they would never come into existence. His light would be too strong for the world, and that particular world, to emerge as an independent world. It would be too godly, it would be too strong of a godly light. So you have to diminish his light so another reality can come into existence. Like I said before, with the teacher and the profound teacher that comes and teaches a class, and that he's much beyond them, Shlomo Melech, King Solomon. Had he not given us 3,000 parables, he would be right over the head of the students. Nothing would ever come of them. The same thing with Hashem in the world. If Hashem did not conceal his light to create Atzilus would never come into existence. It would be overwhelmed by the too strong light of Hashem, and it would become null. It wouldn't become to begin with. It wouldn't come into existence to begin with. So there had to be some concealment. Down here, you have to conceal it completely in order for a physical world to come into existence. But then, when you take the darkness and you do mitzvahs here, and you turn the darkness into light, then there's a much, much greater light that shines even higher than the other worlds. Let's read that again. When the Sitra Achra is subdued and the darkness is turned to light, that's the greatest satisfaction. So that the divine light of the blessed Ein Sof, the infinite light, shall shine forth in the place of the darkness, and Sitra Achra, the unholy side, the unholy reality, throughout this world. All the more strongly and intensely it will shine with greater strength, with an excellence of light emerging from darkness. Then it will be even more than its effulgence, than the revelation in the higher worlds, where it shines through garments, and in concealment of the countenance, which screen and conceal the light of the blessed Ein Sof, in order that they should not dissolve out of existence. That's in the higher world. He has to conceal himself. But when we transform the darkness into light in this physical world, we take a physical body, which is completely self-sufficient, or at least it presents itself that way, and we do a mitzvah with it. You transform it and you engage it in godly work. Now you're revealing Hashem's very essence in this physical world. The essence is much, much higher, infinitely higher than even the highest world, where God's not shining his essence. Over there it's through a garment already. It's a lesser garment, but it's a garment. But when you transform the darkness down here into light, your light that is emerging is not any light that's coming through concealment. That's the essence of Hashem. And what we say before, Hashem wanted his essence. He wanted to have a home down there. What dwells in the home, we said before? The doctor within you or the plumber within you? No. The essence of the person himself. When Hashem says he wants a home, and when you make this place a home for God, you have brought down his essence. That essence could never shine in the higher world. Now you'll have a good question. Then how could it shine here? Why doesn't it dissolve? Why doesn't this world, burn? I don't want to say burn up, but how could we contain such high level energy? The essence of Hashem. If Atzilus if he had to conceal himself in order to create the higher world, this is even further. How could we remain in existence with that kind of powerful energy revealed? So he explains that now. For this purpose, the Holy One, blessed be He, gave Israel the Torah, which is called might and strength. As the rabbis of blessed memory have said, that the Almighty put strength into the righteous in order that they may receive their reward in the hereafter, without being nullified in their very existence, and the divine light that will be revealed to them in the hereafter without any cloak. As is written, no longer shall the teacher hide himself, literally, and he will not conceal himself from thee with robe and garment, but thine eyes shall see thy teacher. It is all, I'm going to read this again soon, I'll explain it. But it is also written, for they shall see eye to eye, and the sun shall be no more thy, the sun shall be no more thy light by day, but the Lord shall be thine everlasting light. It is well known, let's read a little more. It is well known that the Messianic era, and especially the time of the resurrection of the dead, is a fulfillment and culmination of the creation of the world, for which purpose it was originally created. Let me explain first outside, orally, what the Alter Rebbe has just said. When God created the world, He had a plan. What was the plan? The plan was that he should have this dwelling in this physical world. That was his ultimate purpose. That's what he wanted. How do you get a dwelling in this world? Through bringing the essence of Hashem into this world. How do you bring the essence? As we said, when you uncover and you transform the darkness into light. Right? Now, we said that Atzilus can never handle that kind of light. The higher world can never handle that light. It would dissolve. It wouldn't remain in existence if such a high level light was shining. So then, how does this world receive such a light without ceasing to exist because of the overwhelming energy and light of the essence of Hashem? So he says he gave the Torah for that purpose. Torah is called strength. When you do mitzvahs, it strengthens you and it strengthens the world so that it should be able to receive even more light than it would have been able to receive had you not done the mitzvah. Let me give you an example. When you have a strong light shining on your eyes, Yeah, you have a strong light shining on your eyes. You get blind. You're blinded by it. Correct? But then, if you somehow you're able to contain more light, you put on glasses, and you can now start seeing, the light can start shining. Then you start getting used to the more stronger light that you couldn't deal with before. And then eventually you can take off those sunglasses and you're not blinded by the light anymore. Or a teacher and a student, the same as King Solomon. Once he gives those 3,000 parables, the student starts getting it. He starts understanding the wisdom of King Solomon. But he starts understanding it in such a way that little by little he can start to begin to understand, have an appreciation for the light without the concealments. Right? It's in the same way over here. With God created this world. If there would be no concealment, this world would never come into existence. If His light was revealed in this physical world as it is before creation, there would never be a physical world. That's why He had to conceal it and obscure it and put it into garments and cover it. But eventually the purpose is that the essence should be revealed here without concealments. That's the ultimate goal that God wanted. He wanted this physical world where He's not revealed, and that we should reveal Him in such a way where He does not have to have any concealments. But that's not a simple process. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort, and that's why He gave us the Torah and the Mitzvah. The Torah and the Mitzvah don't only reveal Him, it also gives us the strength that once He's revealed, we shouldn't lose our existence. When will the ultimate of this be? When Mashiach comes. Especially when the resurrection of the dead will be. When the Mashiach comes and there's the resurrection, our physical eyes, when we see this table, we will see wood, but we will see beyond the wood, we will see godliness itself. We'll see the God's energy that is bringing this table into existence, which is the essence of Hashem. We will see the essence of Hashem then. How could we handle the essence of Hashem and still be in existence? Because we trained ourselves. That's the power, the strength that we get through Torah Mitzvah. Torah Mitzvah gives us the ability to handle more light later. And now as well, but especially later when Mashiach comes, when all concealments will be gone. Let's read it again, the Alter Rebbe's words. It's on the left column, on page 165, where that triangle is. For this purpose, the Holy One, blessed be He, gave Israel the Torah, which is called might and strength. As the rabbis of blessed memory have said, that the Almighty puts strength into the righteous. Who's the righteous? Every Jew. Ba'amcho kulam tzadikim. All Jews are righteous because we do mitzvahs. It makes us righteous. So God puts strength into the Jewish people, into the righteous, in order that they may receive their reward in the hereafter. What's the reward later when Mashiach comes? With that they'll be able to receive that light of Hashem, that revelation, without being nullified in their very existence. In the divine light that will be revealed to them. Because usually if such divine light would be revealed, you would lose your existence. It would be overwhelming to you. You wouldn't be able to contain yourself. But the reward is that very thing is the reward. That you should be able to contain and receive that revelation of light and remain in existence. And that's the reward, that you should be able to have that pleasure of and closeness and that intimacy with Hashem. In the divine light that will be revealed to them in the hereafter without any cloak. Then it will be revelation without any cloak, no garments, no concealment. As is written, no longer shall thy teacher, over here referring to God, hide himself. Literally, he will not conceal himself from thee with robe and garment. There will be no more concealment. But thine eyes, your very eyes, your physical eyes, shall see the teacher, meaning Hashem. It is also written, for thy shall see eye to eye. You will be able to really observe Hashem like I'm observing this man right here. Eye to eye, there will be no concealment. What does eye to eye mean? When there's concealment, when I turn my back to you, I'm concealing myself. You don't see my real essence when you see my back. You see a certain aspect of me, but the essence, my true self, comes out through my eyes, through my face. That's what he's saying over there. Eye to eye means there will no longer be any concealment. He's not turning our back to us. He's face to face, eye to eye. We see his essence, and we're still here, and we're not going to. And it won't overwhelm us to zap us out of existence, so to say. We'll be able to contain it. And the sun shall be no more thy light by day. It won't be the sun that gives us light, but the Lord shall be the everlasting light. We will have the light of Hashem himself. I'm not sure if that means literally that there won't be a sun, but the point is that the light will come from Hashem. It is well known that the Messianic era, when Mashiach comes, and especially the time of the resurrection of the dead, that's the fulfillment and the culmination of the creation of the world. For which purpose it was originally created. That's the ultimate goal, that the physical world, the dark world, is transformed to light, and the essence of Hashem is revealed over here, as he was before he created the world, and it says even on a higher level. Now, this is not something that we never had before. A little taste of this we had once before. When? When did we have this, a taste of this? At Mount Sinai. At Mount Sinai. He says, like they skipped a note. Something of this revelation has already been experienced on earth at the time of the giving of the Torah, as is written, unto thee it was showed that thou might know that the Lord, he is God. There is naught else beside him. What happened at Mount Sinai? It wasn't just that God gave us a Torah, he gave us information. We had the Torah before, as we all know. It says that Abraham fulfilled the whole Torah already before the Torah was given. So the Torah information, the knowledge of the Torah was already known before. So what happened at Mount Sinai that was so extraordinary? Pure revelation. He spoke to us eye to eye, face to face. There was when Jews stood at Sinai, and it says they all died. And he had to bring them back to life. It was so overwhelming that their souls expired. The souls left their bodies. It was they had an out-of-body experience. And God had to bring them back to life, literally. And then he said the second commandment, they expired again. And he brought them back to life again. And then they told Moshe, this is too much for us, you get the rest. And he went up and got the rest. But we heard the first two. And then God needed that to happen. He wanted all of us to hear him direct from him. But we had such a revelation, somewhat of this we had already once at Mount Sinai. He says over here, as the verse says, Ata hareit aladat, right? Where is it? Unto thee it was showed that you might know that the Lord, he is God. There is naught else beside him. We saw him, we saw him, Hashem himself. It was showed verily with physical vision. We were able to observe it with our eyes open. As is written, and all the people saw the thunderings. They saw the thundering. You ever see a thunder? You did?
No.
I always hear thunder. I never see thunder.
Yes.
You never see
lightning.
thunder. You see lightning. You don't see thunder. You hear thunder. So over here it says they saw thunder. What does it mean they saw thunder? How do you see thunder? You ever heard this? You ever knew this? Very interesting. Let's read this. And they saw... So the rabbis tell us that what happened at Sinai was the very opposite of what happens on a regular day. Usually we hear thunder and we see lightning. At Sinai it was the opposite. They saw thunder and they heard lightning. What is the meaning of this? What kind of miracle is this? This makes no sense. What's going on? They saw what is normally heard. At Mount Sinai, it was a total flip. It was a total change. Whatever you usually hear, they saw. At Sinai we saw. Whatever you usually see, they heard. They stopped seeing, they only heard. What is the meaning of this? I'll explain what this means. Very briefly. What do you see? What do our eyes observe naturally? No, the physical things. I see this table. I see I see the world around me. What do I hear?
The non-physical.
The non-physical. I mean, you hear physical things too, but you need your ears and your mind to hear about the things that you can't see. What can't you see? You can't see God. You can't see holiness, spirituality. That's the things that a rabbi comes into the room and starts telling you about that, right? Your parents teach you about things that you can't see, about the spiritual reality, about God and so on. Those are the things I usually hear. My breakfast in the morning I see. That you don't have to convince me. You don't have to explain to me what breakfast is. I know what it is. My eyes see it. But my ears, through my ears, I hear and see things that I usually don't see. I hear and understand and grasp things of the spiritual nature. At Mount Sinai, what happened was the Jewish people were transported or transformed into a different reality, where suddenly, whatever they usually see, they had to be processed through their hearing, and whatever they usually hear, they saw visually. In other words, at Mount Sinai, their breakfast, they didn't know what's breakfast. They don't know what you're talking about. The physical had no, they didn't see it. You had to explain to them, hey, there's something, there is a physical world. That you had to explain to them like we have to explain to us, like our teachers have to explain to us about spirituality. But they did the very opposite. They were transported into spiritual reality where they saw spirituality. What they had to hear about was that there's also a physical. That was to them news. That was a novelty. There's a physical world, that's a novelty. The spiritual world was reality. And the physical world was a novelty. It was the opposite of the way it is by us. By us, the physical world is a reality. The spiritual world is a novelty. That's the ears hear about the physical world. Our eyes see the physical world. By them was the opposite. Why? Because God revealed His very self to them, and that became reality. And therefore, everything else became secondary, became a novelty. That's what happened at Mount Sinai, and that's going to be the reality when Mashiach comes. And that happens through Torah mitzvahs. Every single time you do a mitzvah, you're contributing to that reality. And then you're making it your reality. You may not see it today, but when Mashiach comes, that will be the reality. You will start enjoying the fruits of your labor. And you will see the absolute oneness with Hashem. The essence of Hashem will be revealed to you. It's being uncovered now, but our eyes don't actually see it. Then we will actually see it, and we will not cease to exist. We will appreciate it on our level. And that's why He created the world, to make this happen, to take this physical world and bring God into it. Now, we're doing that now already. Don't make a mistake. Right now that revelation is happening. It's just that it's going to be to our own eyes, we'll see it then. All right, we'll stop over here and we'll continue next week from something of this.